So on today's episode, I'm very thrilled and excited to introduce to you somebody who, in my personal opinion, is at the vanguard of the conscious capitalism movement right now, particularly as it pertains to the younger demographic. Let's call them millennials. So he's the CEO of an amazing company called College for Consciousness. It's an online platform. It educates students on how to spend more responsibly. He's also an acclaimed author. He's a public speaker. And if that wasn't enough, well, I hope it is, because that's all he's ever done. And his name is Mr. Mike Torres. Now, Mike, it's so good to have you on the show today. Before we jump into the interview, I am going to do a rather shameless plug for you, because I know you're modest, you don't like talking about it, but guys, Well Wallet viewers, if you're watching this, after you've heard Mike talk, you will want to check out his website, collegeconsciousness.com. A ton of cool information there, tips and tricks, and a monthly membership for a very, very low price. But before you click the link, which by the way is in the description box below, you're going to want to watch this full interview, because in about 4.5 minutes time, Mike's a very busy person, he is actually going to be giving you a code to enter on the website to give you a 30-day free trial to everything that College for Consciousness offers. I think I changed the name of that company 3 times in that interview clip. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Well Wallet TV. Added the word TV this time, with your host, John Paul Sperling. Middle name, why not? So this episode is another viewer's question episode. I'm going to give you a chance at the end of this to ask your own personal questions. But for now, this week's question comes from Rebecca in London. Nice to see that we've spread across the pond. I wonder how that happened. So Rebecca writes, Dear John, is there anything in the world that you would still recommend borrowing money for? Is anything truly worth being in debt? Wow. First of all, Rebecca, thank you very much for taking the time to write in. That is an incredibly good question, and I think really there's 2 ways we can answer this, okay? First of all, I don't have an actual answer, so let's just cut there. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Well Wallet, and this week we are reviewing the financial news. So, I read this morning. This is maybe the most depressing financial story I've ever read. Lego have announced that they'll be cutting 1,400 jobs after their decade-long sales boom ends. Lego. I just find that absolutely abysmal. We tried to get a comment from somebody on the Lego PR team, but well, their mouths were sealed. Personally, I think after these cuts, they're just going to have to rebuild brick by brick. Yeah, I went there. In other news, the good news actually from today's roundup is that there's been an increasing trend towards religious-based ETFs. That's the exchange-traded funds to you and I. So this is interesting. Ben Johnson, the director of global ETF research at Chicago-based research shop Morningstar, recently commented, We've definitely seen growing interests in niche investment strategies of all sorts, including faith-based products. Now, okay, for now, we're not talking about million-dollar behemoths, that's for sure. For example, Catholic Values ETF currently has relatively slim $100 million under management, under management, and that's after a whole year of operation. But the fact that faith-based ETFs are even a thing in the first place, for me, that's a sure sign that the desire to incorporate deeper values into the deployment of our cash is still on the rise. And that, Well Wallet viewers, is surely a good sign. So, one of the problems that we have today that we see a lot is that everyone seems to be in such a rush to get where they want to be in life in terms of their success. And it's made easy for them to perceive that because people will throw money at them. Here you go, have a credit card, have a bank loan, okay? What we seem to have forgotten about is that the people who do well with money are the people that focus on increasing their own value. You are only worth what somebody else is prepared to pay for you, okay? And I'm not just talking about working for a big company where your boss decides how much you get paid. I was self-employed for 12 years. I can tell you, it doesn't matter. You're still in that same principle of you are only going to get paid what somebody else values you, your product, your service. So it's not about let's get there as quick as possible. It's about how do we increase our own value so that somebody else is prepared to reward us fairly for the quality of work that we're doing. So now we start talking about this concept of mastery, which is something that I really believe has been forgotten over the last few years. And if you're a millennial watching this, you know all too well that you have been branded as the generation that wants everything instantly. So you're probably familiar with the term mastery because you've been told that you don't know what it means. So right now we're facing a problem. We're facing an addiction problem, and it's a stronger addiction than anything like drugs, alcohol, shopping, pornography, although that is quite a strong one. But this is even stronger, and this is the addiction of doing things. We are so addicted to doing things, and it's because of a whole series of responses we have inside the brain to do with dopamine, the reward system. I'm not going to go too much into that right now, maybe another video. But we are so addicted to doing things, it makes us easy prey for people who want to give us financial help. Now, if you don't understand the depth of the truth of this, I want to demonstrate that to you right now. So keep watching this video for the next 30 seconds. That was like 15 seconds. I'm bored already. How are you feeling? Were you checking around? Were you looking at those other videos at the side of this one, like those YouTube suggestions? Were you maybe checking your phone, looking at your emails perhaps, because this video wasn't doing anything for a few seconds? That's how bad it's become. We need constant stimulation because we're afraid of that feeling that we get when we're doing nothing. Now, think about the impact that that's having on you right now in terms of how desperate you are to get out there and try new things and buy new things. Now, if you're a company that's able to provide that for somebody, you're in good business. You have a very strong business model because it's what people are addicted to, and they don't even know it. So the products you're pushing on them makes perfect sense because they think it's what they need to make them happy. It gives them that good feeling. Now, you don't actually need any of that to give you that feeling. But very few people will come out and tell you that, because what kind of economic model would still function if people knew they didn't need to buy anything?